This is a dialogue which we've had in Ojai, California. We had there 8 dialogues between Dr. Bohm and myself, and 2 here, and 1 day before yesterday. So may we continue with the dialogue, and if should anybody join this or not at all? We're asking if anybody feels like joining this, unless it is very, very serious. Would they join, or if they don't want to, it's all right. So it's a conversation between Dr. Bohm and myself. Let's get on with it. See, we were saying the other day, man, a human being who has worked his way through all the problems of life, both physical and psychological, and has really grasped the full significance of freedom from psychological memories and conflicts and travails. It comes to a point where the mind finds itself free, but hasn't gathered that supreme energy to go beyond itself. That's what we were discussing the other day. Can we go on from there?
Well, if you like.
Right, sir?
Yes.
Can the mind, brain, the whole psychological structure, be ever free from all conflict, from all shadow of any disturbance?
Yes, or self-disturbance. Right? Self-disturbance.
Self-disturbance, and all that. Can it ever be free? Or the idea of a complete freedom is an illusion?
Yes, well, that's one possibility.
One possibility. Is that what we're...
Yes. Then some people may say we could have partial freedom.
Yeah, partial freedom. Or human condition is so determined by the past, by its own conditioning, it can never free itself from it. Like some of those intellectual philosophers have stated this.
Yes, well, some people feel that's the case.
And really the deep non-sectarian religious people, if there must be some who are totally free from all organized religions and beliefs and rituals, dogmas, they have said it can be done. Very few have said this.
Well, of course, there are those who have said it's done through reincarnation.
Yes.
In addition, that group believes it would take a very long time. Right?
Yes, they said it would take a very long time.
Yeah.
You must go through various lives and suffer and go through all kinds of miseries, and ultimately you'll come to that. But we're not thinking in terms of time. We're asking a human being, granting, knowing or aware that he is conditioned deeply, profoundly, so that his whole being is that, can it ever free itself And if it does, what is beyond?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we were coming to.
Right.
Would that question be reasonable or valid unless the mind has really finished with it, finished all the travail of life? As we said yesterday, the other day, our minds are man-made. And is there a mind which is not man-made?
Yes.
Right, sir? That's what we came to.
Mm.
How shall we find this out? We all know the man-made mind, with its consciousness, with all its content, and so on and so on. Did we go through that?
No.
No,
Well, we've done that already. Anyway.
already. It's the man-made mind. It is possible that it can free itself from its own man-made mechanical mind.
Yes, I think there's this kind of a difficult thing to express there, which is that if this mind is totally man-made, totally conditioned, then how, in what sense can it get out of it? You see that, this is the kind of thing to say. If you said that it had at least the possibility of something beyond.
Then it becomes a reward, a temptation, a thing to be...
Well, I think the question is of being able to put this consistently or logically. There seems to be an inconsistency in saying that the mind is totally conditioned and yet it's going to get out, you see. I'm not saying it is inconsistent, but it may appear to be inconsistent, at least.
I understand that question, but if one admits that there is a part which is not conditioned,
Yeah.
then we enter into
Well,
quite
that's another inconsistency.
Yes. Into another inconsistency.
Mm-hmm.
We, in our discussion, we've said the mind being deeply conditioned, it can free itself through insight. That is the real clue to this. Would you agree to that?
Yes.
That insight we went into, what it is, the nature of it. And can that insight uncondition the mind completely, wipe away all the illusions, all the desires and so on? Can that insight completely wipe it out?
Yes.
Or is it partial?
Well, you see, I think the first point is that, see, if we say that mind is not static, that, you see, when one says it's totally conditioned, it suggests something static, you see, which would never change.
Yes.
Now, if we say mind is always in movement, then it seems in some way it becomes impossible to say what it is at this moment. You see, that we could say it has been totally conditioned.
No, let's say, suppose I'm totally conditioned.
Mm-hmm.
It's in movement.
Yeah.
But the movement is within a border.
It's within a border, yes.
Within a certain field.
Yes.
And the field is very definitely marked out.
Yes.
It can expand, it can contract, but the boundary is very, very limited, definite.
Yes, and also this whole structure can die away. You see, if we try to move within that structure, then we stay in some boundary.
Now, it is always moving within that limitation. Can it die away to that?
That's the point. That's another kind of movement. I mean, it's a kind of...
Yes.
In another dimension, I think you've
Yes.
said.
And we said it's possible through inside, which is also a movement, totally different kind of movement.
Yes, I mean, but then we say that movement does not originate in the individual, right? As we said, did we say that?
Yes, yes.
Or nor in the general mind.
It is not quite right. Yes, that's what we discussed the other day. It is not a particular, the inside of the particular or the general.
Yeah.
We are then stating something quite
Yes,
outrageous.
Yes, I think that looking at that, it rather violates most of the sort of logic that people have been using, that say either the particular and the general should cover everything, you see, in terms of ordinary logic. Now, if you're saying there's something beyond both, this is already a question which has not been stated, at least. And I think it has a great importance.
How do we then state it, or how do we then come to it?
Yes, well, you see, I've been noticing that I think people divide themselves roughly into two groups. You see, one group feels the most important thing, the ground, is the particular, concrete, particular daily activity. The other group feels that the general, the universal, is the ground.
Quite.
See, one is the more practical type and the other the more philosophical type.
Yeah.
And in general, this division has been visible throughout history, or also in everyday life, and wherever you look. And now...
But, sir, is the general,
we
can discuss a little bit, separate from the particular?
It's not, but I think most people agree with that. But the question is, what is it that's going to be given primary value? You see, people tend to give emphasis to one or the other, right? That some people give the main emphasis to the particular. They say the general is there, but if you take care of the particular, the general will be all right.
Yes.
The others say the general is the main thing, and the universal, and getting that right, you'll get the particular right.
You're quite.
So there's been a kind of unbalance to one side or the other, a bias in the mind of man. Right? And now, what was being raised here is the notion neither the general nor the particular.
That's right.
And then what?
That's just it. Can we discuss it or have a conversation about it logically, using your expertise, your scientific brain and all the rest of it? And there is this man who is not all that. So can't we have a conversation to find out if the general and the particular are the one, not divided at all?
Well, also that there's to be no bias to one or the other.
One or the other, quite. Not laying emphasis on one or the other. Then, if we don't do that, then what is?
Yes.
What is there? I don't know if I'm...
Yes. Well, then what is? We have no easy way to talk about it.
Yes.
But we did discuss, I think, in California, the ground. And the question was, we could say the particular mind, we said, dies to the general or universal mind, or to the emptiness. And then saying that ultimately even the emptiness and the universal die into the ground. Yes,
that's right. We discussed that.
I think that's a kind of lead into see that.
But would an ordinary person who's fairly intelligent agree to all this, see all this?
I'm not sure.
Or we say what nonsense all this is.
Well, if it were just thrown at him, he would reject it as nonsense. It would require a very careful presentation, and some people might see it, I think. I mean, but if you just say it to anybody...
Of course.
We'll say whoever heard of that.
So where are we now? Wait. We are neither particular or the general.
Yeah.
That's a statement which hardly reasonably can be accepted.
Well, it's reasonable in the sense that if you take thought to be a movement rather than a content,
thought to be a movement, we agree to that.
Then the thought is the movement between the particular and the general. You see that...
but the thought is the general, thought is the particular.
But thought is also the movement.
Yes.
So in the movement it goes beyond being one or the other. That is, in moving...
Does it?
Well, it can. I mean, I said that ordinarily it does not, because ordinarily thought is caught in one side or the other.
That's the whole point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ordinarily, the general and particular is in the same area.
Yeah. And either you fix on one or the
Yeah,
other.
but it's in the same area.
Yeah.
In the same field. Now, and thought is the movement between the two.
Yes.
Or thought has created both.
Yes, and it has created both and moves between them.
Between and around it.
Around and in that area.
Yes, in that area. Now, and it has been doing this for millennia.
Yes, and most people would feel that's all it could do.
That is all it can do. Now, we are saying when thought ends, that movement which thought has created also comes to an end.
Yes.
And therefore, time comes to an end.
Yes, we should go more slowly here.
Sorry.
Because you see, it's a jump from thought to time. You see that, I mean, we've gone into it before, but it's still a jump.
Right. Because first, let's see, thought has created the general and the particular, and thought is a movement that connects the two. Thought moves round it, and so it is still in the same area.
Yes, and doing that it has created time, which is part of the general and the particular. You see, time is a particular time and also a general time, all time, forever. And it sees this particular time in the whole of time, you see.
Yes, but you see, thought is time.
Well, that's another question. You see that they were saying that thought is about, we were discussing that thought has a content which is about time. And besides that, we said that thought is a movement which is time, that it goes, it can be said to be moving from the past into the future, right?
But thought is based on time. Thought is the outcome of time.
Yes, but then does that mean that time exists beyond thought? You see, if you say thought is based on time, then time is more fundamental than thought. Is that what you want to say?
Yes.
Yes, so we should go into that then. You see, you could say that time is something which was there before thought, or would you put that? Or at least it's at the origin of thought.
Time was there when there is the accumulation of knowledge.
Now, but that has come out of thought to some extent.
No. I act and learn.
Yes.
Right? That action is based on not previous knowledge, but I do something, and in that doing I learn.
Yes, well then that learning is registered in the memory.
In the memory, and so on, so on. Mm-hmm. So is not thought essentially the movement of time?
Well, I have to say, in what sense is this learning the movement of time? You can say when we learn, it is registered, right? And then that same learning operates in the next experience, what you have learned.
Yes. The past is always moving to the present.
Yes,
and
mixing, fusing with the present.
Yes.
And the two together are again registered, and it's the next experience, right?
So are we saying time is different from thought, or time is thought?
Yes, well, this movement of learning and the response of memory into experience and then re-registering, we say that is time, and that is also thought, is that?
Yes, that's all. That is thought.
Yes.
Is there a time apart from thought?
Well, that's another question. Would we say that physically or in the cosmos that time has a significance apart from thought?
Physically, yes, I understand that.
Yeah. All right, so then we're saying in the mind or psychologically.
Psychologically, as long as there is psychological accumulation as knowledge, as the me and so on, there is time.
Yes. Well, we say
It is based on time.
Wherever there's accumulation, there's time, but then...
Yeah, that's the point. Wherever there is accumulation, there is time.
Which turns the thing around, because usually you say time is first and in time you accumulate, right?
I know, no. I would put it on the other way, personally.
Yeah. But it's important to see that it's put the other way. Then we'd say, suppose there's no accumulation, then what?
Then that's the whole point. There is no time. And as long as I'm accumulating, gathering, becoming, there is the process of time. But if there is no gathering, no becoming, no accumulation, where does psychological time exist?
Yes. Well, probably you could say even physical time must depend on some kind of physical accumulation.
Of course, that's quite
But that we are not denying.
No, that
but we're denying the significance of psychological accumulation.
That's right. So thought is the outcome of psychological accumulation. And that accumulation, that gathering, that gives it a sense of continuity, which is time.
Yes. Well, it seems that's in movement, that whatever has been accumulated is responding to the present with the projection of the future.
Of course.
And then
all
that is again registered. Now the accumulation of all that's registered is in the order of time. I mean, one
yes,
time, the
that's
next
right.
time, the next
that's
time,
right.
and all that.
So we are saying thought is time.
Yes. Or time is thought, right?
Oh, yes, time is thought, one way or the other.
That the movement of time is thought.
Movement of time.
Of psychological time.
Movement, what are you saying, sir?
The movement of psychological time, which is that accumulation.
Is time.
Well, that's time, but that's also thought, right? That the two mean the
Yeah.
same thing,
So,
right?
so psychological accumulation is thought and time.
Yes, we're saying that we have happened to have two words, which really we only need one.
One word, quite right.
But therefore, because we have two words, we look for two things.
Yeah, yes. There is only one movement,
Yeah.
which is time and thought. Time plus thought, or time thought. Now, can the mind, which has moved for millennia in that area all the time, free itself from that?
Yes. Now, why is the mind bound up? Let's see exactly what's holding the mind.
Accumulation.
Yes, but I meant that's going in a circle. See, why does the mind continue to accumulate?
Oh, I think that is fairly clear, because in accumulation there's safety, there's security, apparent security.
Yeah, I think that needs a little discussion. You see, to say that in a certain area that is even true, that the accumulation of physical food may provide a certain kind of security.
Of course.
And then, since no distinction was made between the outer and the inner, there was the feeling that one could accumulate inwardly either experiences or some knowledge of what to do.
Are we saying the outward necessity of physical accumulation for security is necessary?
Yes.
And that same movement, same idea, same urge moves into the field of psychological field.
Yeah.
There you accumulate, hoping to be secure.
Yes, inwardly, hoping you can accumulate pleasant memories or,
yes, all
or relationships or
yes.
Things you could count on, right? Principles you could count on.
So accumulation, psychological accumulation is safety, protection, security.
The illusion, anyway.
The illusion of security, and in this illusion, it has lived.
Yes. So it does seem that the first mistake was that man never understood the distinction between what he's to do
Outside?
physically and what he's to do inside.
Yeah, inside.
Right?
Yes, we said that.
Yeah.
It is the same movement, outer and inner.
But man carried the movement, that procedure which was right outwardly, he carried inwardly without knowing, perhaps entirely ignorant, entirely not knowing that that would make trouble.
So where am I now? Where are we now? I, a human being, realizes all this, has come to the point when he says, can I really be free from this accumulated security and thought and time? Psychological time, right? Is that possible?
Well, if we say that it had this origin, then it should be possible to dismantle it. You see, if it were built into us, nothing could be done. Right?
Of course not. It is not certainly built into us.
Yeah, but most people act as if they believed it were.
Of course, no, that's absurd.
But if it's not built into us, then the possibility exists for it to change. Right? Because in some way we said it was built up in the first place through time.
If we say it is built in, then we are in a hopeless state.
Yes, and I think that's one of the difficulties of people who use evolution. They say that they're hoping to bring it, by bringing in evolution, they hope to get out of the static boundaries.
Quite.
But they don't realize that evolution is the same thing, that it's even worse. It is the very means by which the trap was made.
So I come to that point as a human being. I realize all this. I'm fully aware the nature of this. And my next question is, can this mind move out of this field altogether and enter, perhaps, into a totally different dimension? And we said it can only happen when there is insight. That would be through infinite.
Yes, and it seemed that insight arises when one questions this whole thing very deeply, right?
Yes.
That one sees it doesn't make sense. Right?
Now, having had insight into it and see its limitation, therefore go beyond it, what is there beyond? This we talked about a little bit, not only at Ohio, also here.
Yes. Well, I think we felt that with the word, very difficult to even bring this into words, but I think we said something has to be done on this line, right?
Yes. I think it has to be put into words.
Could you say why? It's just because many people might feel we should leave this entirely nonverbal.
No, can we say the word is not the thing?
That's clear, yes.
Whatever description is not the real, is not the truth. However much you embellish or diminish it, or just word is not that. Recognizing that, then what is there beyond all this? Can my mind be so desireless?
Yes.
So that it won't create an illusion, something beyond.
Yes, well then that's the question of desire. You see, the desire must be in this time process.
Of course, desire is time.
Yes, now that's the thing that we might try. Say, since there are very subtle forms of desire, as well as the obvious forms.
So, after all, desire, becoming, is based on desire.
Yes, I mean, they're one and the same, really.
Yes, they're one and the same. Now, when one has an insight, I hate to use that word over and over again, into that whole movement of desire and its capacity to create illusion, it's finished.
Yes, well, but see, I think that perhaps we should, since this is a very crucial point, we should try to say a little more about desire, you see, that how it's intrinsic in this accumulating process, how it comes out in many ways. For one thing, you could say that as you accumulate, there comes a sense of something missing.
Of course.
I mean, you feel you should have more, something to complete it, right? But whatever you accumulated is not complete.
So, could we go into the question of becoming first, and then desire comes into it? Why is it that all human beings, right through the world, have this urge to become?
Well, I
outwardly understand that, simply
we
enough.
have to become stronger and so on.
Physically, develop your muscle and
your language, your logic.
And all that. And also, better job, more comfort, and so on, so on, so on. But why is there this seed in the human mind of trying to become enlightened? Let's say, use that word for the moment. Trying to become more good, more or better.
Well, there must be a sense of dissatisfaction with what's in there already. You see, that's one thing.
Is it dissatisfaction?
Well, a person feels he would like it to be complete. You see, suppose, for example, he has accumulated memories of pleasure, but these memories are no longer adequate. And he feels something more is needed, right?
Is that it?
Well, to get more, that's one of the questions. You see. I mean, and eventually he feels that he must have the whole, the ultimate,
I'm not at all sure whether the word more is not the real thorn.
The word more.
Yeah, more. More, I will be more, I will have more, I will become. You follow this whole movement of moving forward, gaining, comparing, advancing, achieving, psychologically.
Yeah, but I see the word more is just implicit in the whole meaning of the word accumulate. Right?
Accumulate, of course, of course.
So if you're accumulating, you have to be accumulating more. There's no other way to do it, right?
So why is there this seed in the human mind?
Well, he doesn't see that this more is wrong inwardly, right? Now, if he started outwardly, to use the concept of more, but then he carried it inward. Now, for some reason, he didn't see how destructive it was. Why not?
Why have fairly intelligent philosophers and religious people who have spent their great part of their great life in why haven't they seen this very simple thing? The great intellectuals and the so-called evolutionary concept and so on, why haven't they seen this simple fact that where there is accumulation, there must be more?
Yes, well, they've seen that, but they don't see any harm in it.
Wait, no, I'm not sure they see it.
Well, no, they've seen that they're trying to get more. You see, they're saying we're trying to get a better life. You see, during the 19th century, it was the century of progress.
Progress, I understand.
Improving all the time.
All right. But progress outwardly.
But they felt inwardly, too, that man would be improving himself inwardly.
But why haven't they ever questioned this?
Well, yes. Well, what would make them question it?
Obviously, this constant struggle for the more.
Yeah, but they felt that was a sign of that was necessary for progress. You see.
But is that progress?
Yeah. Well, can we make it clear? You see, suppose you had to answer one of the 19th century optimists, who said man is progressing all the time to be better inwardly as well as outwardly.
Yes. Let us admit outwardly.
Yeah, he could do it. Right?
Could outwardly. Is that same outward urge to be better has moved into the psychological realm?
Yes. Now, can we make it clear why it does harm in the psychological realm?
The harm is, wait a minute, let's think it out. The harm. What's the harm in accumulating psychologically? Oh yes. It divides.
Oh. What does it divide?
The very nature of accumulation brings about a division between you and me and they and so on.
Yeah, could we make that clear? Because, it's a crucial point. I can see one thing, that suppose you accumulate in your way and I accumulate in my way.
And he, she, or he accumulates another way.
And then we try to impose a common way of accumulating, and
which
that's
is
more
impossible.
conflict. That's conflict, right?
That never takes place.
Yes, they say everybody should be moral and ethical.
Yes. I have accumulated psychologically as a Hindu, right?
Yes.
And another is accumulated as a Muslim.
Yeah, there's thousands of divisions.
Thousands of divisions.
Because you could say in one profession or another, in one
thousands
place,
of divisions.
Really, to live in
Therefore,
one place or another.
accumulation is in its very nature divides people.
Yeah, because
and therefore conflict.
Each person accumulates in his particular way, right, and which is different from somebody else. Right? You cannot make a common way of accumulating.
Can't we?
Well,
so let's all accumulate.
But it doesn't work. You see that because everybody already has a different
of course.
relationship, no matter what you do.
So, can we say then, in accumulation, man has sought psychological security, and that security, with its accumulation, is the factor of human division, psychologically.
Yes, any attempt to accumulate will divide. I think even that occurs in some sociological studies, like Karl Marx, who said that it was this accumulation of capital by some people which divided them from other people, and that started tremendous conflict.
So, we said that's why human beings have accumulated, not realizing its consequences. Mm-hmm. And realizing that, is it possible not to accumulate?
Yes, well that's...
that's a tremendous...
Yes, because it seems the human mind automatically accumulates.
I know. Why? For this very clear and simple reason, in accumulation, as outwardly, it feels safe, secure.
Yeah. Well, perhaps you could say that having gotten into this trap, it was very hard for the mind to get out because it was already occupied. The mind is filled with this process of accumulation, and it becomes very hard to see anything.
Suppose my mind is filled with this process of occupation, which is psychological knowledge, can it end?
Yes.
Of course it can.
Well, if the mind will get to the root of it...
Of course it can. Mm-hmm. Which is that there is it is an illusion that in accumulation there's security.
Yes, well now one can see this at a certain level. Let's say one discusses this, I don't intellectually, but I would prefer to say as a map, you see, that one has drawn a map of this whole process. And the question is and when you have a map, you must now be able to look at the country and see what's on the map, right?
Yes. When you're looking at the map, you don't see the country.
No, the map may be useful, but it's not enough, right? But now we were saying that desire is what keeps people going on with it. Right?
Not only desire, but this deep-rooted instinct to accumulate.
Like the squirrel.
Huh?
Like
the squirrel,
yes. The squirrel, yeah.
For future, for safety. That and desire go together, right?
Well, it builds up into intense
Of course,
desire, right?
Of course. So desire plus accumulation is the factor of division, conflict, and all the rest of it.
Yeah, because you could say desire really the root of the word means need. You see, a person feels he must accumulate more because he needs more.
Needs, yes. Now I'm asking, can that end? If it ends through an action of will, it is still the same thing.
Well, that's part of desire.
Of course. If it ends because of punishment or reward, it's still the same thing. So the mind, one's mind sees this and puts all that aside. Right? But does the mind be free of accumulation?
Yeah. Well, I think that...
I think yes, sir, I think it can. It does. That is, have no psychological knowledge at all. Knowledge is accumulation, and so on and so on.
Yes, and I think that the knowledge goes very... I have to consider that knowledge goes very much further than what it's ordinarily meant. That
of course. I mean,
not just
book knowledge.
Book or abstract knowledge.
Experience, of course.
But you see, I think that that in accumulating, like for example, if you're getting knowledge of this microphone, then you build up an image, a picture of the microphone, and everything goes into that, and one expects it to continue, right?
Of course.
So if you have knowledge of yourself, it builds up a picture of yourself.
Can one have knowledge of oneself?
No, but if you think you have. I mean, if one thinks that there is knowledge about what sort of person you are, that builds up into a picture with the expectation.
But after all, if you have knowledge of yourself, you have built an image already.
That's right, yes. But that's the same, that the tendency is to say that there's a transfer of what you do with the outside, saying, as you observe this microphone, you build up knowledge, and that enters into your picture of it and your perception of it. Then you say, I do the same with myself, right? That I know the sort of person I should be or I am. And it builds up. You see that there's a lot of accumulation that builds up in forms that we don't ordinarily call knowledge. For example, preferences,
yes,
likes and dislikes.
But once you realize psychological accumulation as knowledge is an illusion and destructive and causes infinite pain and misery, when you see it's finished.
Yeah, I was trying to say that when you say that, then the question is, very often the word knowledge does not convey all that has to be included.
Of course.
You see, I could say, okay, I know certain things are knowledge, and it's foolish to build up that kind of knowledge about myself. But then there may be other kinds of knowledge which I don't recognize as knowledge. You see, I say that's...
What are the kinds of knowledge that one has? Preferences, like and dislike,
yes. Habits,
prejudice, habit, all that is in the image that one has created.
Yes. Yes. Now, you see, man has developed in such a way that image seems extraordinarily real.
Yes.
And therefore its qualities don't seem to be knowledge, you see.
All right, so we'll come. So we have said accumulation is time, and accumulation is security, and where there is psychological accumulation, there must be division, and thought is the movement between the particular and the general, and thought is also born out of the image of what has been accumulated.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
All that is the one's inward state that is deeply embedded in me.
Yes, physically and mentally.
Yeah, mentally, all around. I recognize physically it's necessary, somewhat.
Yes, but it's overdone physically.
Of course, if one can overdo anything.
Mm-hmm.
But psychologically, to realize that, how do I set about it? How do I, who have accumulated for millennia, general and particular, that has been the habit, and how do I not only recognize the habit, and when I do recognize the habit, how does that movement, how does it come to an end? That is the real question.
Yes.
Where does intelligence play part in all this? You follow what I'm saying?
Well, there has to be intelligence to see this. Right?
Is it intelligence? Is so-called ordinary intelligence, or some intelligence is something entirely different?
Well, yes, it's clear that I don't know what people ordinarily mean by intelligence, but if they mean just merely the capacity to reason,
to discern, to distinguish,
and all that, yeah,
to solve
to use logic,
technical problems, economic problems, so on, so on, so on. I wouldn't call that. I would call that partial intelligence. It's not real.
Right. Yeah, could call that skill in thought. I mean,
skill in thought.
Yeah.
All right, skill in thought. But intelligence. Now wait a minute. That's what I'm trying to find out. I realize this: accumulation, division, security, the general and the particular thought. I can see the reason of all that, the logic of all that. But logic, reason, and explanation doesn't end the thing. Another quality is necessary.
Yes.
Is that quality intelligence? I'm trying to move away from insight for a while.
Yeah, well, not to repeat the word.
Huh?
Not to repeat the word too much.
Too much. Is intelligence associated with thought?
Well, we don't know what you mean by the word associated. It's
Is it related? Is it part of thought? Is it the outcome of very clear, precise, exact, logical conclusions of thought?
no, that would still be more and more skill, I think.
Skill,
Yeah.
I agree. That's
Yeah. But we have to say intelligence. At least we're suggesting intelligence is a different quality.
Yes. Is that intelligence related to love?
Well, yeah, I'd say they go together.
Yeah, I'm just moving slowly into that.
Yeah.
See, I've come to, I realize all that we have discussed this morning, and I've come to a blank wall, a solid wall. I can't go beyond.
Mm-hmm.
And in observing and looking, fishing around, I come upon this word intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And I see the so-called intelligence of thought, skill and all that is not intelligent. So I'm asking further, is this intelligence associated or related or part of love? One cannot accumulate love.
No.
Right?
Some people might try.
It sounds silly.
Well, people do try to guarantee
Well,
love in the future.
Those are all romantic nonsense, cinema stuff. All right. You cannot accumulate love. You cannot associate it with hate, all that. So it's something entirely different, that love. And it has that love intelligence, which then operates, you follow it? Which then breaks down the wall. I don't know if I'm...
Yes.
Well, let's begin again. I don't know what that love is. I know all the physical, all that. I realize pleasure, desire, accumulation, remembrance, pictures is not love. All that I realized long ago. But I've come to the point where this wall is so enormous that I can't even jump over it. So I'm now fishing around to see if there is a different movement which is not man-made movement. And that movement may be love. I'm sorry to use that word, but we'll use it for the time being, because that word has been so spoiled and misused.
Yes, you're saying love is a movement, you see.
Yes,
that's
love
the
is
point,
a movement.
not just a feeling.
Huh?
Not just a feeling, right?
Oh, no.
Though it may involve feeling, it's not
But it's
primarily.
nothing. So is that love, with its intelligence, is that the factor that will break down or dissolve or break up this wall? Not I love you or you love me, right? It's nothing. It's not personal or particular. It's not general or particular. No. It is something beyond, right?
Yes. Yes, so that's a point that, of course, is hard. That has been part of the background of man to make love particularized toward particular things or individuals.
I think when one loves with that intelligence, it covers the whole. It's not particular or general. It is that. It's light. It's not particular light.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Then, if that is the factor that will break down the wall, which is in front of me, then I don't know that love. As a human being, having reached a certain point, I can't go beyond it to find that love. What shall I do? What is not do or not do, but what is the state of my mind when I have realized any movement this side of the wall is still strengthening the wall, right? Mm-hmm. So I realized that, and through meditation or whatever you do, there is no movement, but the mind can't go beyond it. But you come along and say, look, that wall can be dissolved, broken down, if you have that quality of love with intelligence. And I said, excellent, but I don't know what it is. What shall I do? I can't do anything. I realize that. Whatever I do is still within this side of the wall. Right? So, am I in despair? Obviously not.
No.
Because if I'm in despair or depressed, I'm still moving in the same field. So all that has stopped. Realizing that I cannot possibly do anything, any movement, what takes place in my mind? You follow what I'm asking? Is that right? I think that's fairly logical. That I realize I cannot do a thing. Right?
Yeah.
So what has happened to the quality of my mind, which has always moved either to accumulate, to become, all that has stopped. Moment I realize I can't, no movement. Right? Is that possible? Or am I living in an illusion? Or have I really gone through all this to come to that point? Or I suddenly say I must be quiet. I don't know if I'm clear.
Yes, I understand. Yes, I mean that's part of the same process.
It's the same process.
To project from the past.
So has my mind is there in my mind a revolution? A revolution in the sense that movement has completely stopped. And if it has, is love something beyond the wall?
Well, I wouldn't mean anything like that.
Of course it couldn't be. Huh?
Yeah, the wall itself is the product of
exactly.
the process, which is illusion.
So I realize, you follow? I'm realizing the wall is this movement. So when this movement ends, that quality of intelligence, love and so on is there.
Yeah.
Right? That's the whole point.
Yes, and could one say the movement ends, the movement sees its own, that it has no point. I mean,
It's like, it is the so-called skill to see a danger.
Well, it could be. Anyway.
Yes. Any danger demands certain amount of awareness.
Yes.
But I have never realized as a human being the accumulative process is a tremendous danger.
Yes, because that seems to be the essence of security.
Yeah, of course, all the rest of it.
But,
you come along and point it out to me. See, and I'm listening to you very carefully, and I see, and I actually perceive the danger of that. And perception is part of love, isn't it? Huh?
Yes. Well,
I'm getting
but I mean, you're suggesting that love is a kind of an energy which is not specific or general, and that it may momentarily envelop certain things. But
so perception, without any motive, without direction, etc. Perception of the wall which has been brought into being by this movement of accumulation, the very perception of that is intelligence and love. Right? We better stop. It's up past
Yeah.
12. Huh?
All right.
Phew. Shall we go on?
Well, how do you think? Maybe it's best to leave it.
Better stop your point. When do we meet again?
It's on Thursday, 2 days.
Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Right.